Welcome to Threads of Sustainability, where you get to hear the passionate, informative, and engaging conversations of creatives, makers, manufacturers, and producers from all over the globe. We explore what sustainability can look like in the quilting, fiber, and textile world, and I'm your host, Bridget O'Flaherty, also known as the Sustainable Quilter. Welcome to the next episode. I'm so glad you've joined me today. I'm really excited to introduce this next guest. It's so exciting to talk to her. She has been an enormous influence in bringing organic threads to North America. She is the person we have to thank for that. So it's a really great conversation. We talk about some of the technical issues in trying to produce organic thread and doing natural dyeing with the threads, as well as talking about some of the different certifications, some of the different social issues that come around cotton, and just a really, really interesting conversation from my point of view anyway. I hope you enjoy it. And don't forget to send me some comments and let me know how you feel about the episodes. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks. Welcome to Threads of Sustainability. I have Julie Moore here, and I'm really excited to have her talk to us about some of her projects that she's working on in thread, which is near and dear to my heart. And I found Julie about, 4 or 5 years ago, doing some organic cotton threads, and I really wanted to know more about them. So I was really excited to be able to actually have you join me here today, Julie, so that we can talk about it and learn more about what your business is and how it is sustainable and all of the exciting things that you got coming up. So welcome.
Pleased to be here.
So we talked a little bit before and kind of laid out some of the ideas and some of the thoughts that you had around what your business is. So we'll start, I guess, at the beginning for you, because you weren't always in quilting and doing the quilt world. You what were you doing? How did you get here? What was tell us the brief notes of your journey. Yeah. Tell us those steps.
The brief thing is that I started quilting when I was about 10 years old.
Okay.
But I made a business of it later in life. Around 1993, I got a long arm quilting machine. And I have a degree in illustration and graphic design. My illustrations are normally nature patterns, nature scenes. And so I have a series of patterns that are still being published out there called Earth Lines, and they're nature scenes, one continuous line. So I was quilting and I, got more and more patterns and built up. And then I decided it was really hard to make a living one quilt at a time, and I needed to do something that would make me having to invest handwork in it every time. So I went to a publisher with my patterns and got them published, and it was like being shot out of a cannon.
So this is in the 90s?
This was 99, because in 2000 my publisher took me to Houston for the first time and introduced me. It was a big hit. I was really thrilled to have my pattern sell on like 5 continents.
No kidding.
So cool. I think somebody in Iceland is going to be doing a quilt with my pattern on it,
That's super exciting.
Yeah, it was really fun. So things kind of grew from there. I stayed with them for quite a while, was on the road for quite a while, teaching and lecturing and all of that. And then when my son went into middle school, he went with me on the road all the time. Okay. But it was time for him to get into school. I couldn't replace a middle school, all the things that go on there. So stayed home and opened a studio doing housewares and quilts. Longer story shorter, I have refugee women to do sewing for me because, as I said, it was getting bigger and bigger. And I had 6 women, and they brought their toddlers with them to the studio. And so we had a preschool going and English as a second language classes going and all this stuff. And I had 3 different physicians tell me that my women should be wearing a respirator while they were sewing, because there's so many chemicals on. And as you sew, the needle goes up and down. It breaks off tiny little microfibers of the fabric and the thread, and it goes into the air and you're breathing it.
Wow.
Your body can process away the cotton that's there because, our bodies process natural things, but the chemicals and the coatings that are on the fabric and thread build up in your lungs, emphysema, and you have all sorts of lung diseases going on. And then at the same time, 2 of my friends that owned quilt shops had to go on disability because their lungs had been fried by the chemicals and the off-gassing of the fabrics in their shops.
Wow.
Yeah. So at Houston that same year, Hobbs came out with organic cotton batting.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, why didn't somebody do fabric? So I started looking. There was one source of printed, and made friends with Harmony, and then started looking for other colors of fabric. There wasn't anything out there, started dyeing my own. And then I wanted people to buy my quilts, but all they were wanting to buy was my fabric. So, okay, we'll do that. So then we had batting and we had fabric, but there was no organic thread in the world at all.
Right.
And so I went around at Houston again, went around to the thread manufacturers, and they said, okay, Julie, what's the next hot thing for next year? What organic? And they said, oh no, can't do that. Sorry. But YLI from Rock Hill, South Carolina.
And does YLI stand for something, or is it just YLI?
No, it probably did at one point.
Okay.
I don't know. Anyway, Jim Miller, they're small enough and nimble enough that he took me seriously. And because he was in the thread business, he traveled a lot and met spinners and things from all around the world. So he just sort of put the idea in his pocket and took it with him. And first found spinners in Peru. So what we were looking for was not only a spinner that was willing to do organic cotton, but that was certified organic cotton.
Okay. And so how do you know that certification? What is that?
That certification is that back in those days, there were a couple of different organizations that were coming up with organic standards. And the Organic Trade Association, along with 2 other entities, I think it was Germany and another country, I don't remember who all was represented, came up with the Global Organic Textile Certification, which is called GOTS.
Right. Okay.
And so I happened to be at the Organic Trade Association when GOTS was being talked through. What do we do with wool? What do we do with cotton? What do we do with all of these different fibers? And what do we mean by organic? And it goes from what goes on the dirt, what was on the seeds, what goes on the plants as they're growing, and then into the manufacturing. What inputs do you put into it to make the fibers stick together or not stick together, or, all these different things. And there's dyeing, all the different layers of chemicals that go on.
So looking at the whole production trail, basically for the cotton,
from the dirt to the final product.
Okay.
And so we needed to find somebody that had already been through all those inspections and was producing a certified organic thread. I really wanted it to be in the U.S., but there were no spinners, and there still are no spinners in the U.S. that want to do this. It's too small. They'd have to jump through too many hoops for too small of a return. They're just not interested.
Okay.
We started with Peru, and that was unstable as far as supply and dyeing and all kinds of stuff like that. We found Scanfill out of Holland, and they already had 34 colors going.
Right.
So I'm still their distributor. Okay. But Scanfill is a Tex 35, and the problem that we have is all these chemicals coatings are put on thread to make it stronger. Right. Because over the years, sewing machines have gotten higher and higher tension.
Right.
As they got stronger, the tension got higher, and it was this snowball thing. But then when you reverse back to organic thread without all that stuff, these high tension machines break it all the time.
Okay. So what does Tex 35 mean? What is that?
Tex 35, I'm not technical, but what I know about text weights is that the lower the text number, the skinnier the thread.
Okay.
And the higher the text number, the thicker the thread.
Okay. That makes sense.
So Tex 35 is a multi-purpose thread. It's not the lightest that you'd find, but it is what you would use in a serger or something where you're using multiple lines of thread.
Okay.
So you can imagine in the back of your jeans, you're
Yep.
making some jeans, organic jeans, you get a lot of stress in that seam on the back. Sure. So a Tex 35 thread is not always the best for those high stress seams.
Sure.
So I went on a quest next to make a thicker thread that would be stronger for my customers. Ended up finding a spinner in India that could make thread in any weight that I wanted.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was very pleased to find them. So I went over to India and I wanted to see for myself what was going on, all the way from the spooling and the winding all the way down to the farms.
Okay.
And so all of that is on my website, my tour all around
So the
India.
full
And
work conditions of them.
Yeah, I was very pleased at what I found, but in India, working conditions are not the same as they are in the US.
Sure.
So those people have good working conditions, but it's not like here.
Right.
So I really have to stress that. And that's all around the world. When we talk about a living wage for people, very different from country to country. Right. And so I really was taking that into consideration when I looked at everything. Did I find everything perfect? No. I really liked what the farming co-op was doing with raising the cotton and their regenerative methods and their organic methods and composting. And
so you were really focusing on bringing in an organic thread to the U.S. market because it just wasn't available at all, other than Scanfill, which came out of Holland, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Scanfill still is a wonderful thread, and I sell a lot of that. It's sold around the world. And then So Pure came out in, I can't even remember what day. It's my thread, and I don't remember what year I launched it.
But it was in like the last 10 years, or was it older than that?
5 years. Yeah, it's
in the last 5 years. Okay.
Eight. Yeah.
8 years.
So I just started with a few colors in Tex 40 and Tex 70. Okay. And I have added more colors over the years. I try to add 3 or 4 colors each year. This year, the colors that I'm waiting for are colors that match color-grown cotton, or cotton that's grown in colors. Cotton grows in browns and greens.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's naturally colored, and so you don't have to do any kind of dyeing or anything.
Oh,
so
wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's very cool. I've grown brown and green here in my garden.
Nice.
And I spin it by hand, and so it's really fun. It's so cool to see it growing. My refugee families saw my different colors of cotton growing, and they said, "Oh yeah, we had that back in Vietnam." And they eat the cotton bolls before the fibers form. And they said different colors actually taste different.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
that's really neat.
I think so too.
So tell me about the connection between YLI and all of this. I lost what happened with that.
Jim and I worked together with Scanfill for quite a while, and then it just got to be such a niche product that he sold off the whole handling of it to me.
Oh, okay. So you worked together on the Scanfill, bringing it to the U.S., and then he just said, "You go do this. This is your thing."
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome.
So he still produces one product for me, and we see each other every once in a while. And I come up with some idea. I say, "Jim, can we do this?" And okay, he'll figure it out. But I make a organic cotton braided tape. It's like it's an antique shoestring machine.
Wow.
That Jim had in the spool is in his operation, and it takes 13 different spools of thread, and it weaves them all together in this little, maybe 1/4 inch wide flat braid.
Wow.
And it's used for all kinds of things. A customer that makes handmade paper wedding invitations, and she has them tied together instead of glued together. They tie with one of our pieces of tape. And I sell it to knitters, machine knitters and hand knitters. It knits beautifully because it's flat.
Right.
It makes patterns show really cool.
Neat.
Yeah. So Jim takes those big skeins, has them hand painted. So he sells hand painted braided tape on his.
Okay. Well, and YLI also uses BCI cotton, right?
Yes. BCI cotton is not organic,
Right.
and it's regenerative. BCI cotton is trying to make cotton a little less impacting on the farm.
Okay.
Doesn't have anything to do with the processing and all of that goes along with the GOTS certification.
Right. Okay. So it's just at the farm stage.
At the farm level.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it still includes chemicals.
Okay.
So some of those chemicals that go onto cotton in the field actually persist in the fiber inside. Okay. You can't wash them off. Right. They're in, and like the pesticides and things like that. So, okay. So that's why organic is that step up for breathing it and all of that sort of thing.
That's an amazing story of connection there. So now you are at the point where you are launching a new line of thread, right?
Yes.
And this thread is different dyes. So you've got some of the cotton balls that are already brown and green, so that you don't have to do anything to them. So what else are you doing? Tell me the other stuff.
So the dyes that we're using for the brown and the green are going to match the brown and green cotton that's grown in the fields in those colors.
Okay.
So that's going to be in Tex 35 so that people can do overlock with it. It's going to be in Tex 40 and not coming out with a Tex 70 on that.
Okay.
The next step, I should step back up. All of our colors have been achieved with fiber reactive dyes. Okay. And fiber reactive dyes are made from chemicals, but the molecule of the dye bonds with the molecules of the fibers. So it doesn't rub off. It's not a stain or a coating. It actually becomes part of the fiber. And they're non-toxic, and they're used in such a small amount that the impact is insignificant. Okay. So that's why it's approved organic textile standard.
Okay.
Okay. So my customers, though, the real gung-ho, the ones that we like, that love all the organics and want everything to be natural, have been asking me for years for naturally dyed thread.
Okay.
Well, that's a big order.
Yeah.
Because, a cone of thread has 5,000 meters on it. And to dye it, you have to unravel the cone, and you got 5,000 meters of thread, and you naturally dye it with vegetables and stuff. It gets all tangly, and it's just a mess. So the challenge was to produce it in any quantity and in a way that we could get it back onto the cone after it was dyed.
Right.
The other thing about it was that when I first started thinking about vegetable dyes, the environmental impact was actually higher than with the chemical dyes. Because you think about how much onion skins, for instance, yellow onion skin, how much does it take to dye 1 pound of fabric?
Right. A lot of onion skins.
A lot of onions. And then after you're done, what have you got? A mess of onion stuff.
Right.
To dispose of. So not only was it sourcing, but it was also disposal. And we finally got natural dyeing to the point that there are a lot of small companies that are making powdered dyes for natural dyeing.
Yeah.
So that the dyer themselves don't have to source from farms and, all that sort of thing. So it just got a lot streamlined, and they're composting to about the earth, doing the right thing with it. So I was able to hook up with a customer of mine that had been sewing with my thread for years and dyeing her garments with vegetable dyes. So I said, how about if you just dye thread for me? So Kat Quigley of Sustained by Kat is her business. Dyed a list of colors for me. We got all this finally all in my house. And then it was a matter of, okay, now how do we spool this?
Right.
That's been the big trick. So I have been all over the world trying to figure out a spooling machine that moves slowly enough so that with one hand I can untangle this giant skein of 5,000 meters of thread,
Right.
the thread to go on the spool with the other hand, and then be able to make it so that I personally don't have to do it.
Right.
Usually, whenever we do something, I do it first, and then I teach somebody else how to do it.
Sure.
We tried. I got a spooler from Russia. I got a little spooler from China, Mexico, and toured around with an engineer looking for somebody to make us one, all to no avail. And I finally put together a kind of a makeshift, figure it out, untangle it with one hand. It goes through a little counter, and then I have kind of a drill sort of a thing with the pedal of a sewing machine on
Sure.
it. That
Okay.
so I guided onto these cones myself, and it to my spooler in Connecticut that spools so pure for me.
Okay.
And they're able to take it off of my hand wound cones and put it onto the same little recycled tubes that we're using for soaping.
Oh my goodness.
Finally coming out, and it should hit the shelves by the end of the summer.
And so how do you how does your dyer get consistent colors for that, consistent shades?
I have no idea.
That's I'm gonna have to interview her. I'm really curious. How do you do that?
She can match a Pantone color.
That's
I mean,
amazing.
she really knows. Yeah. And she did a whole lot of skeins, and she did the skeins like one at a time, and they all do match. Now, it's not the same consistency that you get with machine dyeing.
Sure.
So with lights and darks in it, the cones of thread as I'm winding them on are just beautiful.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what she's using for each color? Do you want me to tell you
I definitely want to know what she's using for them.
We have sage, and that's a very lovely heathery sage color green. She uses weld and indigo.
Okay, so that's blues.
The lavender is the color. It's a lovely purple color. It has madder root, oak galls, and food grade iron.
Wow. Okay. So she shifts it. Okay.
Yeah. Walnut has walnut hulls, oak galls, and chestnuts.
Oh, wow. Beautiful. Okay.
We've got a red that's madder roots, and that's straight red.
Straight red. Okay.
We have a pink that, of all things, it's dyed with avocado hulls.
Yep. I've done some avocado work. Yeah.
I think that's so weird that pink comes out of those green hulls.
It's crazy.
Yep. So we have a color we're calling near black, and it has myrobalan. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Oak galls, logwood, and food grade iron. And then we have yellow, and I think that's weld, or maybe it's just weld. And then we have a couple of grays. What could be onion skins for all I know. I mean,
although I've heard that, I don't know. I mean, I'm not an expert dyer. I'm a hobby dyer, and I hear different things. Some people say onion skins, yes. Some people say no. Onion skins are fugitive. You can't actually use them long term. I don't know. Okay. I'm sure somebody. I'm sure somebody will write in and tell me about it.
Just because I don't have all the information while I'm sitting here doesn't mean I won't have all the information. So when it comes out, I'm going to tell, each color and how it's achieved. Part of the problem, the big problem that we've had now that I'm spooling, is that as it runs through my hands, it's the color comes off on my hands.
Yeah.
It's what's called crocking.
Crocking. Okay, I didn't know that.
They used to actually use indigo to dye blue jeans. And when you first get your blue jeans, you put your hands in your pockets and they get blue.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, that's what's happening because we have indigo on the blue and in the blacks and in some of the greens. It comes off on your hand. If I run 1,000 meters through my fingers, then I have blue marks on my fingers.
Yeah.
But when someone is sewing, they're not going to run 1,000 meters.
No.
So it's not going to actually come off on your fabrics that you're sewing or anything. You took a spool of blue or black that has a lot of indigo in it. If you rub it on a piece of fabric, a piece of white fabric, you rub it really hard on there, you'll notice that some of the blue transfers off onto the white fabric.
Yeah.
That's my big fear, that people are going to think that that there's something faulty about that, that something's wrong with that. And
Right.
it's part of the deal when you are using naturally dyed
Yeah.
fiber.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, and I also, I feel like we've kind of bought ourselves into this idea that things need to not bleed, things need to not shrink, things need to not fade. And we've kind of bought into that as the proper way fabric and material needs to be because we've been dealing with synthetics for so long. And we have to, I think, change the way we think about the dispensability of our materials and our overall products that we're making. If we're doing organic, it's because it breaks down. It's because it does actually biodegrade and isn't going to be here forever. So I think we just need to kind of maybe put aside that idea that we're creating something that's going to last 300 years. That's not the goal here.
It's true. It's true. On the other hand, if you go to a museum and you look at old textiles, they're all organic because there wasn't any back there.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I love to show this piece of fabric that I found a photo of, and it's 6,200 years old and it's got indigo dye in it. And it
There
was
you go.
found in Peru. And it's like, oh my God, 6,200 years ago, the only reason we put any dye in anything is because it's beautiful. So 6,200 years ago, they were doing that. It's
Yes.
amazing.
Yes. People always, something's not going to last. If you make an heirloom quilt out of organic fabric and thread, it's going to last. And as long as you don't leave it out in the sun, it's not going to bleach. Anytime you have a quilt, you're not going to leave it where it's moist or it's going to mildew. And
And
it's the same with the thread.
yeah,
You
and
know,
the overwashing as well can be problematic. Like quilts don't need to be washed every week. We
right.
need to maybe not be so hard on the materials and have those expectations of them behaving a certain way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, organic thread does behave just the same once it's in the garment and in the quilt.
Right. Right.
Yep. It's the machine that puts the high tension on it that can snap the threads and all of that.
Right. Right.
So it's not perfect for every project,
Right.
but I have to say I have everything being made from silk scarves to shoes with organic thread.
Amazing.
So
Amazing.
it works. It works. And it's all, once you're done with your garment or whatever you've made with it and it's all worn out, it goes in the compost pile.
Yep.
Your thread that you're using with polycore has a microfilament of polyester in there. And that may seem small, but the problem that we have now is with microfibers and microplastics.
Yep.
We have them in the air, in the water. They're in the stomachs of plankton in the Arctic now.
Yep.
And if we keep putting that out into the world, it's going to get us. So we need to go to 100% biodegradable products.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, the idea, the mind shift that we need to do heading in that direction, I think is, yeah. And having those materials available to us makes it easier to actually get there, because when I started doing what I'm doing, I got in touch with you because I couldn't find organic thread anywhere. And I couldn't find it in Canada, couldn't find those materials. And so we started talking then, trying to figure out how to get it into Canada. Still working on that. But it's, yeah, the availability of the materials will make it easier for people to make choices like that, right?
I have to say I have a lot of customers in Canada. So it is possible to get thread in Canada. And I would love to have a distributor in Canada, but that's the one.
That's what I'm trying to be and trying to work on. And it's tricky. That's the part that's hard for me to be able to bring it in here and distribute it out through my retail. So, but hopefully I'll be able to figure that out in the next little while. So you still have sewists working for you, right?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Each of the women, these were Montagnard refugee women, and they are the indigenous people of Vietnam. So they're not Vietnamese, they're Montagnards. They are still being very much persecuted, and it's a slow genocide going on over there. So if they can, the US and other countries take them in. So when they got here, they had been foragers, hunter-gatherers. Okay. So it was a matter of bringing them up in every facet of life. up to technology. And that was the goal with they were always used to doing handwork. And so they could do a job. And then when I had the first woman and taught her how to use a sewing machine, then the next woman came in, she taught them in her own language. And then each time a new woman would come, the others, and I just invented products that they could do with their hands. So by 2012, they were all pretty much able to use machines and sew on their own. Some of them could read by then. Their children were old enough that they were in school, so they didn't have children at home. And I needed to what I was doing. So we shut down the studio and we put sewing stations in each of their homes.
Okay.
So they could continue to sew, and gradually they found other jobs.
Okay.
Sewing and staying home, it's very lonely. And they were used to working as a village unit.
Yeah.
So they weren't used to being alone like we are. We're isolated in our homes. And so getting out and having jobs and things was a goal of theirs. And they all are now.
Oh, good.
Yeah, doing great.
So do you quilt anymore? Do you get time to do any quilting? You were big in the quilt world for a long time.
I was, and I loved it, and I burned out. So I got out of it for a long time, and now I'm loving it again.
Oh, good.
But I just do family quilts.
Nice.
My nephew got married, and I made them a quilt, and everybody knows what Aunt Julie's going to give them for a gift.
Right. Which isn't a terrible gift.
Right. I had to give up my long arm, so I don't do that anymore. It was the arm and shoulder and neck motion on there. I had some collapsed discs in my neck, and my doctor said, no more, can't do that.
Yeah.
So mostly it's baby quilts and I love hand quilting, but what I'm doing mostly now for my fun is hand spinning cotton, of course.
Oh, wow. Right on. So you actually sit and do the spinning.
Spinning and knitting cotton lace. I really enjoy that. I use a Tockley spindle, small Tockley spindle. And
I have no idea what that is.
it's a little tiny spindle. No, I don't have a wheel or anything like that. Okay. It's just a little spindle like Gandhi.
What they call like a drop spindle? Is that the same thing?
A drop spindle actually hangs from your thread or from your arm, but it's a supported spindle. Cotton has such a short fiber that drop spindling is very, very difficult. So the supported makes it so that I can get a very, very thin yarn.
So you've had like a real deep dive into understanding exactly how cotton behaves and what like the whole story of cotton. At this point, you're a cotton expert now.
I would like to think so, but I'm not. I mean, when you put me, next to the Organic Trade Association, their Fiber Council.
Okay,
I'm a member of that, and those guys are the real deal. I mean, the big companies that know exactly what they want in cotton, and then there's the farmers in there that know exactly what goes into cotton and how it's grown, how much water it needs, and there's just so much to know between growing it and using it in a garment. I know generally all the different stages, and I know what I want my cotton to do.
Sure.
But wow, it's a huge field, and there's
and it's a huge industry, right? Like the cotton industry is one of the largest industries globally. 50% of all of our clothing and materials are made out of cotton.
I don't know if it's all the way up to 50%. Is it? Is it?
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to see it 90% or something like that, and get these man-made fibers out of there. But cotton, the organic cotton industry is growing by leaps and bounds. And with COVID, a shift happened. People suddenly stayed home and they suddenly started thinking about their health. Right. And they were sitting in front of their computers and they looked it all up.
Right.
Out what is happening to them wearing their clothes, walking on their carpet, sitting on their furniture. And they changed over to wanting more organics. For me, thread sales tripled. And all of a sudden, I couldn't keep it on the shelf because everybody was staying home wanting a project and sewing with organic thread.
Sure.
And that was great. But what happened was that we couldn't sell all the organic cotton that was out there. And now we can't make enough.
Right.
And you can't just, make more.
Overnight, no.
No, it's got years before the field can be deemed organic, and then all these different practices. And so now the overall industry is trying to bring in what we call transitional cotton, which is it's years between when you put on chemicals and when you're completely organic. Cotton is organic, but there's still residual chemicals in the field.
Sure.
So there's like 3 to 5 years in there when the farmer needs to be supported.
Yeah.
So there are lots of different people that are working on bringing in transitional cotton into their fabrics and things like that. So you'll see that on labels coming up.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there is a different certification or different labeling around it to say it's a transitional cotton. Okay. Oh, that's really interesting. And so when you're taking a look at, like you did the trip over to India and looked at the farms that you're dealing directly with, and you're starting to see this shift in the industry coming around to, like, I think it's just generally there's an awareness now that's different after COVID with what climate impacts really are, and that people are starting to really, yeah, like you say, they're kind of waking up and going, oh, wait a minute, that's not what I want to support. I want to be actually paying attention, which is one of the reasons I started this podcast, because I'm starting to hear people asking for information. They want to know how they can do better. And so I'm trying to help show them how they can do better, right?
Yes, something as small as a spool of thread, it doesn't seem like that would make any difference. And people have asked me, you think you're going to save the world by selling thread? Well, over in India,
actually,
the farmers in India have around 6 hectares each over there, and their kids are living right there in that dirt with the cotton.
Yeah.
If I can get that farmer to go organic and not put chemical on the field so that his children will not grow up and get cancer from those chemicals and die early, or he's not going to die early from what he's been breathing, I've changed their world.
Yeah.
I've changed all these little worlds with my thread, and everybody else can too.
Yeah, I agree.
A simple choice of which thread am I going to sew with.
It makes total sense to me, but I'm already converted. So I do as much organic or as much natural as I possibly can. And when I can't, I try to do recycled or upcycled. We all take our little steps as we go along. We can't do all of it all at once. But maybe deciding your next project is done with organic thread, or you buy 6 spools of organic thread a year that you're going to add to your stash, and you keep adding and adding and adding. It's a place to start.
And I can't say that I'm perfectly we eat organic food or wear organic clothes. No, we live in the world, and we do what we can.
Thank you so much for joining me and talking to me today about all of this stuff. I really like getting into some of the technical weeds of things and understanding how those different things impact a product that is, like you say, as simple as a spool of thread that we're using to put into our quilts or into making a bag or into making a piece of clothing. But all of the parts that are involved in it, it's not simple. It's that simple spool of thread is not a simple thing to produce and put on the shelf for us to pick up. And the amount of thought that has gone into, your drive to create a product that is safe for people to use and available to the world, and you keep shifting, you keep moving what the essence of that is. Now that you're getting into the natural dyes as well, you're trying to, it's one more step, and I just think that all of that is so important to just see. I think what you're doing is really amazing work.
Well, thank you. And, I didn't realize it was going to be this complicated either. I thought I was just going to buy thread and sell thread. But then when it came to doing the So Pure and designing the spool, I wanted the spool itself to be, I didn't want it to be biodegradable. I wanted it to be compostable, and I wanted it to be sustainably sourced. So I chose a cardboard core, recycled cardboard core. And then I don't want my retailers to have to buy a display unit.
Right.
A display where they always have to have all the colors, and display units have got to have plastic parts in them, and then they have to be manufactured. So I made them short and fat so that the spools stack on top of each other like little bricks.
Nice.
So you can display them on a shelf without having to have the whole shebang.
Nice.
it takes so much. There's just so much that goes into every product. And it's not just thread. It's every product you buy has got all these considerations to them.
Yeah, you've got to think about all of the steps along the way, not only in producing it, but then getting it out to retailers and how it's going to be dealt with at that end, and
Yeah.
the shipping and the packaging and all of those things are all part of those thought processes. Yeah. Right after this, Julie and I stopped recording and then, of course, started getting into another conversation around the industry. And we actually started talking about some of the certifications and labels, and Madeira Thread, who uses an Oecotex standard for their thread. And we started talking about some more interesting stuff. So then I hit record again, and here's the rest of the conversation. Yeah, I want to know what their standard's all about, and what is Oecotex, and why does somebody get it and somebody else not get it? You know, what does it do? And I also want to do BCI cotton, and then I want to understand all the different labels. You know, what are they? And I want to talk to somebody at GOTS, and I want to talk to everybody. I want to know, like, I just want to have those stories out there for people so they can understand what's going on in the world, that people are trying to make changes and make differences, and it doesn't look the same, and there is no perfect answer. They're not all like there's the right one for the right person, but they're all efforts that are going in the right direction.
Well, that's it. Yeah.
You know?
If we can keep that movement going.
Yeah.
In the right, like you said. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, to me, from where I sit, there's no perfect answer, but they're all good, and they're all better than not doing anything.
Oh yeah. And it's so neat that, you're doing this stuff and it's big, it's a one-time thing, but it trickles down. It goes into somebody's home.
Yeah.
It changes the way they do things in their life, and it's influence all over it. It's very cool.
Well, and I have this really strong belief, and I talk about it with almost all of my guests at this point, is that the ability to save the earth, or the reaching sustainability, starts with the individual. So it starts with those little things. And if we start making individual decisions, they have a ripple effect, and they move out into our community, and community is an enormous part of sustainability. And if we're taking care of ourselves, we're taking care of our people within our home, that's taking care of community. It spreads. It's this really contagious thing, and I just feel like all the efforts that you're making and other individuals that are making, with the idea of being committed to this one idea, this one thing, that is what makes sustainability possible, because they're driven to do that one thing and have that change happen through that one thing. And it's a cumulative thing. It impacts so many different parts of our lives. It's pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. All the way.
Julie, tell everybody how we can actually find your threads.
I think the best place to start is with my website, and that is fiberactiveorganics.com. Okay. And on there, a list, it's who's using our thread, I think is the name of the tab. And you go down there and there's retailers on there, if you're a retailer. And if they're a business, they can email me, Julie, at fiberactiveorganics.com. Clue them in on how to go about buying wholesale and how we do things and all of that.
Okay. And otherwise, then the average person can buy it through the retailers.
Through the retailers, yes.
Okay.
Several retailers.
And to be clear about what we were talking about earlier, Canadians can get it through those retailers. We just don't have a distributor in Canada yet, which is what I am working on doing, but that's what's really difficult. So yeah, just to be clear, that if you are Canadian and you're wanting to get that organic thread, you can through those retailers. Yeah,
there's several retailers that are online. There's also a few brick and mortar stores, but mostly it's online.
Perfect. All right. That's awesome. I will put that all into the show notes. Okay. And I will also put into the show notes some links to the GOTS, GOTS, so people can read up about that a little bit. And is there anything else that you would suggest that people might want to know about?
Organic Trade Association is a really good resource for all things organic, but especially fiber. They've got a lot of good research on there. So
Okay, awesome. Well, we'll put those links into the show notes too. I feel so lucky to have been able to have that conversation with Julie and meet somebody who's been such an influential part of bringing organic thread and organic materials, organic products, and just highlighting the need for organics in our industry. And she's been a leader. She has been an advocate for a long time and really pushing the envelope when it comes to organics in North America and giving it to us as an option. I think that's really amazing. I'm so thrilled that she was willing to talk with me. If you are enjoying what you're hearing on the podcast, please support the podcast and help me continue doing what I'm doing here. You can do that on my website at Buy Me a Cuppa, because I don't drink coffee, but I love to have a cup of tea. Coming up for me this fall, I will be on Quilters Take a Moment 2022, and that is put on by the Quilt Alliance. And I am going to be on a panel called Sustainable Stitching, Making Quilts with the Earth in Mind. And this is going to be moderated by none other than Zach Foster and includes other amazing quilt artists who focus on sustainability in their work. So if you're wanting to join up for that, check out their website. It's on from September 13th to the 18th in 2022. You can go to their website at quiltalliance.org. If you're liking what you're hearing, don't forget to like, follow, and share the podcast with your friends. If you're interested in a community that engages with sustainability in quilting and textiles, you can join the Learning Hub at BridgetO'Flaherty.com. There you will find memberships, online courses, supplies, and resources for sustainability and my textile art. You can also book me to speak with or teach your group. You can find me on social media at The Sustainable Quilter. Don't forget to comment, like, and share, and to follow me on your favorite podcast app so you won't miss an episode. Thanks for joining me, and I'm so excited to share this journey with you. Until next time, happy stitching.